And this is Stories by Derek. Today's story is the Great Lakes Medieval Faire. Some stories take us back hundreds of years, others remind us that history isn't something you only read about in books or see behind museum glass. Sometimes it's a place where people come together to keep history alive. For more than 30 years, the Great Lakes Medieval Fair has welcomed families, friends, performers, and dreamers into a world inspired by the Middle Ages. For just a few hours, the modern world begins to fade away. I've been coming here since I was about 14 years old. Over the years, what started as a fun day out slowly became a tradition. For my family, this has become a place where we return to year after year. My niece said this year, "It's good to be home again." The first time she said it, I smiled. How could a place only visited a few weekends each year feel like home? The longer I kept coming back, the more I understood. So today, I'd like to show you why. If you're planning a visit, try to arrive a little bit early, long before the fair officially opens. People begin gathering outside the entrance. Families find a place to stand. Children look towards the gate, wondering what's waiting inside. Then the king steps forward to welcome everyone. He greets the crowd, shares a few words, and prepares everyone for the adventure ahead. Then suddenly, boom! A cannon fires from somewhere behind the village wall. You never actually see it, but you definitely hear it. That's the signal. The wait is over. People begin making their way through the entrance. And just like that, your adventure begins. Once you step through the entrance, the gravel pathway stretches out in front of you, leading you deeper into the village. And this is where your choices begin. No matter how hard you try, it is almost impossible to experience everything in a single day. So, every visitor creates their own adventure. One of the first places many people head is the King's Court. Here, you find the king, the queen, the princesses, and the royal guard greeting visitors throughout the day. Just beyond the court, you come across one of my favorite stops, the pickle shop. If you've never had a Renaissance fair pickle before, you're in for a surprise. And if you're lucky, the pickle witch might be the one handing it to you. As you continue exploring, you'll pass dozens of unique shops filled with handcrafted artwork, clothing, jewelry, and medieval treasures. Before long, you'll find yourself near Mermaid Cove. Take a few minutes to stop, talk with the mermaids, and simply enjoy the atmosphere. If all that walking has made you thirsty, there's a drink station only a few steps away. One thing I've learned over the years is that the drink stations away from the larger food courts usually have much shorter lines. So if you need a refill of your mug or grab something cold to drink, this is a great place to stop. As you continue exploring, another trail leads you to the pirate territory. Before long, you'll hear laughter, shouting, and maybe even a pirate insult or two. The pirates here don't just wear costumes, they become their characters. Start a conversation, and don't be surprised if they answer you in full pirate passion. From there, the village changes once again. Only a short walk away, you'll find yourself entering one of the quieter corners of the fair. Here, mystery replaces mischief. You discover spellcasters, fortune tellers, and shops filled with books, crystals, handcrafted items inspired by folklore and the unknown. Whether you believe in any of it or you're just simply curious, it's another part of the village that invites you to slow down and look around and explore. Every path has its own personality. One moment, you're laughing with pirates. The next, you're surrounded by stories, legends, and just a little mystery. Not far from Mermaid Cove, you'll discover one of the quietest corners of the village, the Fairy Forest. It's a place where children and plenty of adults can slow down for a while. Here, you'll have the chance to meet the fairies, talk with them, and discover each fairy's own unique personality. If you're feeling adventurous, you can take part in the fairy quest. It all begins with a folded paper known as your fairy passport. I've completed the quest several times over the years. Passport in hand, you'll travel through the fairy forest, meeting each of the
This is
fairies
Sir Bjork,
and
the
even
fork
the
of York.
gnome along the way.
Now I know many of you have seen him in the road. He is the fork in the road. That is his current position. But what you don't know is his history, his story. As I told you, I am a storyteller.
Each one has their own personality, their own stories, and each leaves a special stamp in your passport before sending you on to the next stop. When you've completed your journey, the Fairy Queen welcomes you. She'll give you your own fairy name, and if you like, you can even leave with a little fairy glitter to remind you of your visit. There are games to play, crafts to enjoy, and plenty of opportunities to simply slow down and look around and let your imagination take over. Sometimes the quiet moments become the ones you remember the most. Once a year, during the pirate weekend, mayhem erupts and we get the pirate versus fairy battle.
You got this, Wes! There you go.
But eventually, another sound begins to drift through the trees. At first, it's only laughter. Then, more voices join in. Before long, you hear cheering. The mud show has begun, and curiosity has a way of pulling you down the path. Follow the sound, and before long, you'll find yourself surrounded by people laughing. You found the mud show. It's one of the fair's newer returning favorites, and every performance is a little different. If you're happy simply watching, find a seat and enjoy the show. But if you're feeling adventurous, don't be afraid to raise your hand. You never know, you might find yourself invited onto stage. I did. And from that point on, well, let's just say what happens next is entirely up to you. Whether you stay clean or end up covered in mud depends on the choices you make. That's part of what makes the show so much fun. Every performance is different.
Committed.
That's commitment to the part.
Weep for a year.
I'm not getting these boots muddy on purpose.
Yay!
Clearly said. Thisby arrives on scene and says,
Every volunteer walks away with a story. And trust me,
"Arise,
it's one you'll probably be telling for years. After the morning of exploring, talking with pirates, visiting the ferries, and maybe even surviving the mud show, it's probably time to slow down for a little while. Not far away, you'll find yourself heading back towards the center of the village. There's a smaller food court tucked away here, and isn't as large as the main food court, but over the years, it's been one of my favorite places to stop for lunch. Part of the reason is if the food is good, the lines are usually shorter, and for around $10, I can actually get a meal that keeps me going for the rest of the day. My personal favorite, the fries. There's also a stage nearby where musicians perform throughout the day. It's the perfect place to enjoy a meal and listen to music. As 2 p.m. approaches, you'll begin to notice something changing around the village. Performers start walking towards the gate. Musicians stop playing their music. Some of the shopkeepers start walking through the village carrying signs. Around here, that can only mean one thing. The grand parade is about to begin. Soon, the first performers come into view. Musicians, pirates, fairies, shop signs, knights, the king, the queen, the princesses, the royal guard, and many of the performers you've met throughout the day all come together for one celebration. It's one of the few times during the day when nearly everyone at the fair is part of the same event. The parade begins making their way through the village. One thing I've always liked is that it doesn't always follow the exact same route. Some days it travels further through the grounds. Other days it makes a slightly different path. That means wherever you happen to be, there's always a chance the parade might come your way. No matter which route it follows, it always makes its way back towards the field of honor. As the parade continues, you'll probably find yourself making your way towards the main food court. This is the biggest gathering place in the village. Music fills the air throughout the day, and performers take the stage just steps away from where families are enjoying lunch. If you've worked up an appetite, this is where you can find the widest variety of food. The famous turkey legs, fresh baked goods, vegetarian meals, and plenty of other options. Earlier, I stopped at the smaller food court for one of my favorite meals, but if you're looking for the biggest selection, this is where you'll find it. And while you're here, don't forget to look towards the stage. One performer I always enjoy watching is Pinwheel Sideshow.
and they're like, yeah, I
Her show combines comedy, danger, and incredible skill, including swallowing a sword. It's one of those performances you don't easily forget. Just a short walk away, you'll probably hear another crowd laughing. That's where you'll find Johnny Phoenix. He's been performing here since the fair first opened. One thing I really enjoy is that he performs different shows throughout the day. Even if you already watched one, there's a good chance you'll see something completely different later on. I've been coming here since I was about 14 years old. Over those years, I've watched generations become part of the show. Years ago, I remember my dad being invited onto stage during one of Johnny Phoenix's performances. Years later, I find myself standing on stage during the Mud Show. It's funny how traditions have a way of continuing. The faces change, but the memories keep being made. One thing I enjoy about returning every year is that no two seasons are exactly alike. Some performers have been there for years. Others may only stay for a weekend or a few weeks before moving on to another Renaissance fair. That means every visit has a chance to surprise you. Keep exploring, and you may discover Squire on the Wire, balancing high above the crowd, other musicians performing in a quiet corner, or something completely new you've never seen before. That's one of my favorite parts of coming here. Around almost every corner, there's another story waiting to be discovered. After everything you've seen, your day is still far from over. The paths continue throughout the village, leading you to even more shops, performers, and traditions. If you're feeling a little competitive, head over to the archery range. Here you can test your aim with a bow, throw a few axes, or even try your hand at throwing stars. Not far away, you'll hear another familiar sound, the ringing of steel against an anvil. You time it just right, you can stop and watch the blacksmith demonstrating one of the oldest trades in history. It's another reminder that this fair isn't only about entertainment, it's also about keeping old traditions alive. One tradition that's becoming more popular over the years is trinket trading. As you wander through the fair, you may notice a small symbol displayed at certain booths or carried by other visitors. That symbol lets you know they're open to trading trinkets. You never really know what you're going to get when you make a trade, but every trade usually starts the same way, with a conversation. Before long, complete strangers are sharing stories, exchanging small keepsakes, and walking away with another memory from the day. To me, that's what the fair has always been about. Not just the attractions, but the people you meet along the way. As the afternoon begins drawing towards its final act, people slowly begin making their way towards the last destination, the Field of Honor. If there's one event that brings nearly everybody together, this is it. Find a seat, choose your favorite knight, and get ready to cheer. The excitement begins with demonstrations of medieval horsemanship as riders race down the field, trying to catch small rings with their lances. It's a skill that takes incredible precision, especially at full speed. Then, the moment everyone has been waiting for, the joust. The horses charge towards one another, lances collide. The crowd erupts with every pass. Whether you're cheering for one night or simply enjoying the spectacle, it's hard not to get caught up in the excitement. But the battle isn't over yet. After the final pass with the lances, the rivalry continues with swords. Steel clashes, the crowd cheers, and the contest reaches its exciting conclusion. When it's all over, the knights bring their horses over to meet the crowd. It's a chance to thank the performers, talk with the jousters, and learn a little bit about the horsemen. And before long, everyone begins making their way towards the final gathering. As the afternoon slowly turns towards evening, you'll find yourself making your way back towards the center of the village. Along the way, you'll probably pass a few shops you somehow missed earlier. That's another thing about this fair. No matter how many times you walk these paths, there always seems to be something new waiting to be discovered. Before long, you arrive back at the main food court. The picnic tables begin filling up. Families find a place to sit. Friends gather together. Performers finish their final shows of the day. As the clock gets closer to 6:30, everyone begins to gather around the stage. It's time for the pub sing. And then the music begins. Before long, people are singing together, clapping along with the songs, laughing, smiling, simply enjoying one last celebration before the day comes to an end. Then something wonderful happens. It's not every weekend, but most weekends. People begin joining hands, forming a long line that winds its way through the crowd, around the picnic tables, between audience, through the food court. More and more people join in until the line stretches throughout the entire area. For a few minutes, complete strangers become part of the same celebration. You don't have to know the person standing beside you. You simply take a hand, follow the music, and enjoy the moment together. As the evening's final song begins, the energy slowly changes. The last song isn't about cheering for knights or laughing at the show. It's about coming together, the final time. Throughout the crowd, people raise their mugs, their cups, their glasses. Friends toast friends, neighbors toast neighbors. Even strangers share a smile, and they tap their cups together. For a moment, everyone is part of the same story. The music comes to an end. The king comes to the stage. He says his thank yous, and then he calls the day complete. One by one, people begin making their way towards the exit. The performers wave goodbye. Shopkeepers close their booths. The village slowly grows quiet once again. Soon, the guests are heading home, and the staff begins preparing everything for another day of stories. As you make your way back towards the entrance, you realize something. You aren't leaving with just souvenirs, you're leaving with the memories. Maybe that's why so many people return year after year. Not just for the shows, not just for the food, not even just for the joust. They come back because, for one day, a village built on history, imagination, and laughter becomes a place where strangers become friends. Traditions are passed from one generation to the next, and every visit becomes another story worth remembering. When I was younger, I thought we were simply coming to a Renaissance fair. Now I realize we were building tradition, making memories, meeting people we'd never have met anywhere else, and collecting stories we'd still be talking about years later. That's why, when my niece says, "It's good to be home again," I understand exactly what she means. Because somehow, a place I only visit a few weekends each year really has come to feel like home. And when it's finally time to leave, you aren't thinking about the drive home. You're already wondering, which weekend will I come back? Thank you for joining me for today's story. If you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if you'd leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story. This has been a Stories by Derek, and I'll see you in the next one.